this trusty little thing is called a foam roller. They come in different colors, and each one has a little bit of a different density. This one is pretty dense, so it's going to be hard on the muscles. You'll see them, I would say, in the blue and white, or white, all white categories. Those tend to be a little bit softer. So if you're new to foam rolling, if you know that you're a very tight person, maybe a little bit of a lower pain threshold, you might want to start with one of those first. Otherwise, today we're going to do a little bit of upper body, particularly back and neck foam rolling, and just a few different tips for how to loosen up some tight muscles. So take your foam roller, have a seat on the floor. And I will say I have some dogs, and I always have fur on me. So it's not for lack of trying. I just vacuumed and lint rolled my pants. Doesn't seem to make a difference. So anyway, you're gonna had to get that out of the way. So you'll start with the foam roller right behind you, and then lean back. Knees bent comfortably for you. Now, right now, my abs are working a bit, but the foam roller is right at the bottom part of my rib cage, if you can see that. Put your hands behind your head, and I like to do, I'll show you from behind, I like to stack the hands right towards the base of my skull. That allows me to give a little more support without pulling or bending my neck in an uncomfortable angle. So find kind of the bottom part of your ribs, maybe a little bit more towards, for the ladies, like the elastic on your bra, or for guys, it's kind of like mid-back. Hands go behind your head. Keep your hips down on the floor. So this is a big piece that people often miss. And then you'll slowly extend over the foam roller. Whew, I just got a good pop. And open up the chest. Now, I have pretty good extension in this space, so if you're not going as far back as me, don't worry. That wasn't a humble brag. I just don't want anyone to be comparing and feeling bad about it. So you'll open up, reach back over, and then come forward again. So this is where we're starting. It's just a little extension, and then come up. And now my hips are still resting on the floor. Lower body is pretty relaxed here. Okay, and then we'll come up, and then just move your hips forward an inch, not very far, and do it again. Open up, extend, and expand. So you'll feel maybe some chest muscles or shoulders, arm muscles stretching, but you'll also feel that pressure on your back. So if you run into any knots or anything like that, I'll talk about that in a minute. For now, just kind of getting everything moving and warmed up. This one, come to the top, and then again, move your hips about another inch or so. So now you're closer to the bottom to middle shoulder blades. And then come here. Now you may find you have a lot less movement up this high, maybe some pain. But I want to warn you, with something like this, pain should make you want to stop. And that's a good thing, okay? Don't keep going if you're having I can't breathe, or it's sharp or anything like that. If it's just intense, work within that range that you can manage and would like to come back to. That's the key thing. Okay, and then if you have a little bit more to go, you can. One more inch, and you're just extending back. Remember, hips are still on the floor. Supporting your head in your hands. And you're just getting some blood flow. So the pressure of the foam roller on each spot promotes blood flow to the area, which helps recover muscles and ease pain, kind of warms things up. But you're also moving your spine in various different positions with support. Okay, from here, you're just going to lift your hips barely off the floor. And for me, my hips are still kind of brushing on the floor, probably getting a whole bunch of dog hair. And you're rolling just as far as it's comfortable for you, and then back up. And then as you go, try to release your body back over the foam roller a bit. You're rolling through your thoracic spine, or basically the length of your rib cage. You don't want to go off the bottom or to the top of your rib cage. Stay within that range. And you're really still, again, trying to extend or arch your back. Opening up the chest. And for me, I have a lot of bumps and knots right around the shoulder blades. That's pretty common for people, commonplace for people to feel that tension. Just do one more. And rest. And notice for those things, I told you I'd come back to this. If you had any spots where there was like a really hard knot or tension, you can come back to that spot now and stay there. And you might go back to your flexion and extension movement with a lot of weight on it. Or you might stay here. Find a spot where, like, I got a spot by my right shoulder blade here. I might stay here and just take a few deep breaths. Another thing you might try to do is just a little side-to-side movement. Make it gentle. Focus on relaxing the muscles in the back to really melt into the foam roller. Okay. Next up, we're going to do the low back. Now, this one requires a little bit more, I guess, muscle intensity. So, let's start by sitting on the foam roller. You're going to sit. Put your hands behind you and feet on the floor. And now tuck your tailbone under. So you're really squeezing your seat underneath you. Your belly is tight. Drop to the right side or the left side, doesn't matter, but one side of your spine. And then you're going to roll through that side of your low back. Probably have to walk your hands with you a little bit. But the goal here is you're not just hanging into the foam roller. You want to curl your tailbone under. You're rounding so that the muscle is kind of reaching out to meet the foam roller. And rolling up and down a few times. We'll take a little break. And then let's do that on the other side. Sit up on the foam roller. Hands behind. Go to one side and then roll right into that low back. Curling pubic bone towards the rib cage. And you should feel that foam roller pressing into the side of your back. Kind of into the muscles on the side of the spine. So we're trying to avoid the low back bones. Right in the middle of your back. Side's way tighter for me. Just a couple more here. My foam roller's really moving. All right. Okay, and then one more thing we're going to do. This one is so critical and most people miss. We're going to work on the lats. So best if you have, I think it's most comfortable if you have a shirt that covers your armpits. If you don't and you're at home and using your own foam roller, do whatever you want. But you'll sit on one hip. Foam roller, as you can see, it's kind of right underneath my armpit. Now we'll go just behind your armpit and in front of the shoulder blade. That's where the foam roller is resting. So right now I'm like, okay, this isn't so bad. I'm just hanging out here. You're going to stay at this slightly leaned back angle and then start to roll yourself. So I'm kind of pushing with my feet and rolling down. Again, kind of right in front of your shoulder blade and all the way down until you're like, oh, that kind of hurts. Then stop and roll back up. Okay? Whew, and then do that again. Now, for a lot of people, this place isn't attended to very much, and it gets really intense really fast. Now, I just found a spot, and I'm going to sit on it. So if you get to a spot where you're like, ooh, there's a big bump, or it gets really intense, try to hang out there for a second and take a few deep breaths. You can always rest your head in your hand here. You can use the top hand to support your head, whatever works for you. Now, I'm on this little spot. I'm going to gently roll forward and backwards. And continuing to breathe is super important here. If you're holding your breath, that generally means that you're tensing up. Everything is getting really uncomfortable. So try to stay with that. All right, let's do the other side. Foam roller on the other side. Again, start right at the armpit, right behind your armpit and in front of the shoulder blade. Find some ease there. Relax for a second. And then push with your feet and roll. Some of this stuff just kind of starts to become intuitive. So if you're like, where exactly do I put my feet? Go with your gut. And for me, I'm in my stocking feet. You might want to be barefoot if you need a little bit more, something to grip on. And again, come to any spot where you feel some extra tension. Make sure you relax your hands, your neck. Again, you can support your head in your hand if that feels better for you. And then just, if you have a spot, you can roll forward and back. getting some of those muscles to really release. Now your lats are huge muscles that come from, there's a lot of ways to describe this, but they make the little wings right through here on your upper back, and they come down into a big V, and they all come together kind of in your mid-back. So oftentimes people will have tension right in the middle of their back from sitting or whatever they've been doing all day. And that can often be because your lats are really tight. So those are the 3 things. You roll your upper back, lower back, and your lats. Hopefully that will help with some of your back tension. Check out the lower body foam rolling if you haven't already.